So thanks everybody who has logged on to find out more about Stellify's summer internship. We're very excited to be running this again. So this is our 4th year of doing it. We had to take a break last year because of COVID. So everybody's very excited to have it up and running again. I am Tracy. I'm an exec producer at Stellify, so I work in production. And my colleague Jim is head of development. So as the title suggests, he works in development. So hopefully between us, we will be able to answer your questions about the internship, and also feel free to throw in a few more general questions just about the industry, and we'll be happy to answer if we can. So I'm guessing we should just crack on so that it allows you guys to get the best out of this time, make the most of your time. And Jim, I think, is going to just run through how this session works, and then we get on with it.
Yeah, hi everyone. So if you click on the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen, that's where you can ask questions. And in that, Tracy and I will try to answer them. And also, we've got some questions that have been sent in already, so we'll go through those. And then the plan is, after this session, applications go live at 2:30 today. So you should all receive an email with a link to the application, or if you're watching this on YouTube later on, the link to the application will be in the description below. And that's it. And then, so yeah, so Tracy and I we're kind of like overseeing the selection process of this. So like Tracy said, it's a good opportunity to ask us questions about the industry, questions about the job, and then get any sort of hot tips as well about how to get this internship. So,
oh, there's a question in hot off the press. Should we start with this one? Do you have to have a certain amount of experience, and that's coming from feeds? And the short answer is no. That's the beauty of this internship, actually. It's just, we are just looking for people who absolutely love television, love watching it, and love the idea of being a part of it. So no experience required. You just have to be 18, over 18, I should say, not just 18-year-olds, and a resident of NI, of Northern Ireland.
Yeah. Just want to say to Phoebes that I started off in television in a job just like this. So in the job advert, it said no experience necessary. So it's not many opportunities like this out there. So worthwhile.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not sure if we answered that actually, because we didn't hit.
I did it. I clicked it.
That's all right then.
I'm on it. Don't worry.
Yay.
Next, if successful, where would you be located during 2-month internship? So Stellify based in Belfast, that's where our office is. So you'll be expected to work from there. It is hybrid working, so you can work from home as well. But my advice would be, when the opportunity is there to be in the office, especially when you're starting out, that's where you want to be, because that's where you learn the really useful stuff from colleagues and your office mates. So Belfast.
Lily is asking, will this internship be focused solely on live action TV production, or would there be any opportunities for effects and motion graphic students too? I would say largely, I mean, we do TV production, but the vast majority of our productions will have an element of graphics incorporated as well. And we do in the development team as well, and Jim can talk more about this, but we do have a lot of work that is based when they're doing sizzles that is calling for graphics. So I'll pass that one over to you, Jim.
Yeah, so in development, we do, it's a good tip for application forms, and something to be aware of is that we specialize in unscripted. So things like game shows, reality shows, cookery shows, dating shows. We don't do anything that is like a drama or a comedy at this time. And the way we develop those ideas and we sell them is we work collectively as a team, and we come up with ideas in different ways, and we have different methods of trying to sell them into the likes of Netflix, Amazon, and BBC. And sometimes it's just a document that sells the idea, but more often than not, it's a bit of tape, sometimes called a taster tape or a sizzle, and that's what members of our team produce as well. So if you've got a background in being able to cut stuff and being able to do graphic design, then that's probably going to be an advantage, but not essential as well. Loads of questions now, Tracy.
Yeah. Let me see. This is Emily's. If successful, how many hours a week would you be required to work? So we normally, our office hours are 9 to 6, but we are flexible. It is an industry that it's very much deadline driven. So we are always prepared to work a little bit longer if we need to. But we certainly don't promote an environment where you are sat at your desk all day, every day, if you don't have to be. So we do very much recognise the need for a work-life balance. And that is what we strive to obtain. But as I say, it is deadline driven. And so sometimes the pressure's on and we do find ourselves still in the office. Or you could do a bit of weekend work independent on shooting schedules. But it's just really flexibility is key. But standard office hours, 9 to 6.
From Jade, what does the application process involve? There's an online application form, and then if you're successful, there is an interview, which should be about 20 minutes. Then off the back of that, we'll be selecting the successful candidates. Tick. Here we go, development, I'll do this one. For the development aspect of the internship, are you looking for the candidate to have new original ideas for TV shows? Yes, that's what we do. That's the whole point. When you're starting out, you might already have notepads full of fully fledged ideas, which is great. That's amazing. Or you might just have really interesting takes on topics, or you might be a specialist in different areas that hasn't been on television before. So there are kind of two different types of development people. There are people that can just look at a blank sheet of paper and come up with 20 amazing ideas. Or there's development people who are quite methodical, that will do loads of research or watch lots of other TV shows and break them apart and think about how we can make it better. So if you can't think on the spot about 10 great ideas, that's fine, but it's about finding a process that can help you generate those 10 ideas. So that's the whole point of what we're doing in terms of this half of it. The reason why we're employing people for this internship is to find new people into the industry that can create new ideas for shows, as well as work in production as well.
There's a question here from Sam about what is the work environment like. Stellify are very proud and have worked very hard to create a really good, fun, supportive environment. Lots of people say television production or television is a very tough industry, and it can be, but actually it can also be a huge amount of fun, and it is a real privilege to be part of it. And Stellify, I should say, were voted the 4th best place to work in television in 2022. So we're massively proud of that. And that I think is a testament to, we all work hard and we expect all our colleagues to work very hard. And so we all work hard, but we've all got each other's back. And I think that's fair to say. So it's a supportive environment, but it's a lot of fun.
I'm just going from the top. Anna says, what roles, responsibilities would the internship entail? So it'll be, depending on where you're needed, it'll be working in development with me and the rest of the team, generating ideas for shows and do everything that's required to sell those in. But then also when we've got something in production, I'll be working with Tracy on that. And then Tracy, what would it like in production? What sort of jobs and tasks are involved?
In production, gosh, no 2 days are the same. I mean, you could be involved in helping us with casting. So that's finding contributors to take part in programs. You could be looking for locations for filming. You could be out buying bits and pieces that we need, some sort of props. You could be helping us put together call sheets. So that's so that the crew and all the contributors know where they're supposed to be at any given time. There's a huge range of things that you could be doing. You could also spend some time in an edit when once we've shot the material and we're actually cutting the program, putting the program together. Yeah. Scheduling, I mean, you'll get an opportunity to see every aspect, depending on what is on during those summer months. But certainly there will be every opportunity to see, to get a really good feel for what is involved in production.
Hannah asks, would already having some experience be detrimental during the selection process? No, not at all. So people that have got the internship before come from courses where they've done lots of sort of TV production before. So it's a case-by-case basis, but if you think you'll benefit from this course, then you should apply, and we can decide if that's a problem or not, but I doubt it'll be a problem.
Yep.
Sean, have we done Sean yet?
Sean, from a 3D artist, 3D production standing, what types of things would be offered?
Honestly, Sean, not much. That's quite, Sean, what you do is quite specialist, and there was work in the industry for that, but at the moment this internship is just focusing on television development and production. Hope that's okay, Sean.
What sort of things could this internship lead to? This is for Katie. Your next steps afterwards. Well, I mean, I guess the thing is that the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. So I guess it's a brilliant opportunity, because if you haven't any experience, if you haven't worked in the television industry before, this will give you a really great opportunity to see every aspect from development through to production and then delivery. So hopefully at the end of that, you will have a really kind of solid idea of where you want to be, and the bits that you play to your strengths, and you'll probably gravitate towards certain areas. And then, if depending, some of our interns have stayed on with us, but it's a very fluid industry, and it's always dependent on what's on the slate at any given time. So whilst there's no guarantees that there will be work to keep you on at the end of those 2 months, certainly we will make every effort to help you. And it's not just a case of you come in for 2 months and then it's away and the door's closed. Even if you're not working with us, we know lots of people in the industry. We will do whatever we can to help you if you ask for that help. So I sort of think that it's difficult to give a definitive answer to that. I guess the biggest thing is that it will give you an incredible insight, and it's, in my opinion, that's really valid and worthwhile. And then once you know what you want to do, where you want to be going, we will do everything we can to help.
It's tough getting a career though, isn't it, Tracy? Because we're all on short-term contracts, which is quite weird. It's one of the difficult things to get your head around when you're starting out, is that you are generally on rolling 3-month, 6-month contracts that depend on what production or what development team you're working on. So like Tracy said, it's fluid, there's no promises, but it's also very flexible as well.
Yeah.
So,
and I think if you just kind of if you reconcile yourself to that, so it's not necessarily an industry that you go into looking for job security, but at the same time, that doesn't mean it can't work for you. And actually that is a huge advantage, because it means if you're moving around, you're working with different people all the time, you're picking up lots of different tips and ways of doing things. It's a really fun industry, and you're working. I just think you'll never get bored. So that's the plus side of that.
Yeah, you can save up and go to Thailand for 3 months and go back to another job. Can't if you're a bank manager. And just on that, just finally, so other successful applicants, they still work in the industry, and one of the applicants from last year, they got through she was in between her second and third year at university. And actually now she still works for us 1 day a week while she's finishing her final year, because we just want to keep in contact with her. And she's really good. So there's flexibility. Well, Stellify is really good at sort of looking after people, and they'll do their best to keep you on if you can. Ross says, is the internship 5 days a week, 9 till 5? Pretty much 9:30 till 6. But like Tracy said, it's kind of like everything we do is task-based. So on my team, sometimes they'll have to work, into the evening sometimes, but at the same time, if we work really hard, we can knock work on the head at about 4 o'clock, and that's how it works. So that's it. So generally 9:30 till 6.
Emer says, what sort of skills, qualities, things are you most looking for? I understand it's an application form, but I suppose surveying between the lines for answers. What is it you keep an eye out for?
That's a very good question.
Very good question. I'll start, Jim. I think, again, there is no definitive answer. I think there's all sorts of people working in television. There's big personalities, smaller personalities, but just creativity is really what we're looking for. And people who think outside the box, are proactive, energy, just have lots of energy. There's not one given thing. I like people, when I see evidence of people being resilient, I like that. Jim, what would you?
I'd say that there's probably dozens, if not hundreds of production companies, and most of them have got development teams. And what the job that we have is to come up with the idea that those other development teams haven't. So I'm always interested in finding people that come at the same subject from different angles, or find completely new subjects where we can make sort of TV shows about them. And I was going to say one more thing. That's it. And people you want to hang around with as well. Yeah. I think one secret tip for the application form is that Tracy and I are the ones reading it. So you're speaking to us. We're your audience, and we're not academics. We're not corporate. We're looking for people that we can hang around with and work with. So that's probably my good thing to have in mind for your tone and in your language that you use in the application form.
And being organized. I do like well-organized people. Just rereading that question, saying what sort of skills and qualities. I think organization is key as well. Yeah. Flexible thinkers. Yeah. People who have a can-do attitude.
Get stuff done.
Yeah. 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 And be yourself.
Yes, thank you. That's a good question. I'm going next. What are Stellify looking for in an ideal candidate? I think Caitlin kind of just covered that a bit. I think ideal candidate specifically for this internship, which is a bit unique, it is that balance of development and production. Sometimes I recruit people for development and it's all about their creativity and ideas, and they can be totally, Fruit Loops, but those types of people will never work in production because they would drive Tracy mad. So this person is that looking for that best of both worlds, of someone organized and someone that can come up with ideas that no one else has. And those ideas, by the way, look at the shows that Stellify make. The Stellify way is that we do all the conventional genres, but we always add a twist to it. So it's always sort of subversive, cheeky, mischievous. So that's what's worth keeping in mind when you're applying for this job as well, in terms of tone and the sort of stuff that we do. We don't generally do high-end intellectual documentaries because we're not high-end intellectual. No, some of us are. I'm not.
Yeah.
How many interviews will there be after application shortlisting? Depends on the applications that we get, but we'll probably shortlist it down to about 15, 16. And that's what we did last time. And then just be one interview and then you get off the job. That's it. Phoebe says again, I have experience as a junior question writer on a game show. Would this be an available job and could you choose to do that part-time as well? That's interesting, Phoebe. There's always overlap in development and question writing, I'd say. We wouldn't be able to promise you any sort of junior question writing jobs. And I'd actually say probably worth contacting Stellify separately if that's what you want to do. You say, Tracy?
Yeah, I would say so. Katie says, hello, would you say this internship will cover a breadth of roles within TVR, the select departments? It's as wide as it can be, and as much as it will be development. So it's 2 months, and how it normally works is that you would spend half of that in development and then half of that in production. So, and then within both of those departments, so within development, you'd be under Jim, and I would imagine you'll get a wide range of the sort of day-to-day duties that you can expect to be doing if you're working as part of a development team, and certainly in production the same. It's not something that we want people to just come in and make coffee for the rest of the team. We do want our interns to be very much involved and hands-on, and to leave it feeling like I genuinely did a job there, and I've learned from it. So I know certainly from production we would be looking to utilize you as much as you feel willing or able to do, you know.
And on development as well, it's not all just sitting around talking about ideas. So we do a lot of pitch material production. So like going out and shoots and cutting stuff. When you're developing a quiz show from scratch, you do lots of run-throughs, which are basically lots of tests to find out what's working, what's not working. So that's what the development team are doing this week. We're testing a new quiz show on Friday. So that involves like a little sort of downsized version of a normal sort of studio set just in the office. And also there's lots of sort of location visits and interviewing contributors and things like that. So if I'm honest, a lot of it is desk-based, but at the same time, there's lots of being out and about as well. Tom says, is there a possibility of being kept on after the internship? Yeah, that's the whole plan. All the caveats about this being a flexible industry. Caitlin says, since the internship is over the summer, will this be completely full-time over the 2 to 3 month period? Yes, it is.
Jack, in general, entry level, is it better to focus on one aspect department of television, make it your speciality, or try to be an all-rounder? I would suggest, Jack, that unless you know completely what you want to do, or you have an idea, but it could just be perception if you haven't worked in the industry before, that you go in with a keep your mind open and your opinions, your options open. Sorry. So I think go in, have a look around. My advice would be to suss out all the departments before you really kind of commit to something. And entry-level jobs, to be fair, are kind of, you know, they're positioned at that. That's sort of the purpose of them, because it gives you that opportunity. So, you know, nobody will really just come in as a producer or come in as a director. You need to work your way up. So I think it's good to keep an open mind, would be my advice.
Ben asks, how many days a week is the internship? It's 5 days a week. Mind you, development 7 days a week. Never stop working in development.
Oren says, during the application process, is there an opportunity to provide professional and/or academic references? Yes.
You can if you want. Stick that in the application form if you think that will help.
Kevin, would you say being open to iteration perspective is part of the ethos? Stellify. It's a good question. Yes.
What's the question?
Kevin's.
Oh. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the ethos, I think I've said before, is perspective. You know, it's finding, we're all chasing the same ideas and the same commissions. It's finding a different perspective and a different approach, really. So, yeah. Cool. Daryl says, I've been a contributor on a few Stellify shows. I'll not mention what. Ooh. True crime. True crime. But I've always had a bigger interest in behind the scenes. Would this mean I should not apply, or would I have an equal chance as everyone else? You should definitely apply, because one of our successful applicants was a contributor on another show.
Yeah.
And that contributor is working on production as we speak. So there we go.
Absolutely. Throw your name in the hat.
What are the mistakes in applications you see constantly? Get someone else to proofread it is a good tip. There's a lot of typos, a lot of mistakes. You know, if you're making a mistake on an application form, it's quite important. What mistakes will you make on something that you're doing for me or Tracy? But I think the main, when I was applying for jobs, my sister gave me a good tip, and she said, just remember, when you're applying for a job, some idiot like you will be reading it. So use the language that you normally use. So keep it simple. There will be, how many application forms? Me and Tracy have to read through about 100. That's probably a good tip, something to keep in mind as well. And then that's it, really. But have fun with it. Tracy?
Yeah, and I would say as well, obviously, when I'm applying for a job, I will always research the company where I'm applying to work. But I think it's really important as well that you don't limit everything that you put on paper to that company, because then you need to give yourself scope for showing what you're going to bring. So we don't need to be told everything that we've made, because we already know. So whilst we are always looking for an awareness, certainly, that you have done a little bit of research, don't go too heavy on it, because the application should be about selling you, not about selling Stellify to us. So I would say that as well, if that makes sense.
Kevin asks, would having experience in making pre-visualization techniques, such as creating live action references for ideas, being a bonus? I'm not sure what that means, but that does sound pretty cool. Pre-vis type stuff is what we do to sell ideas, because sadly a lot of people that we pitch to don't have any imaginations. So anything that we can do to bring ideas to life is a bonus. So Kevin, if you apply, definitely mention your application form and explain what it means. Is there a flexible starting time, say if our academic timetable extends to the end of June? Maybe.
I would say there's no definitive, I mean, really it needs to run through the summer from our perspective, but if we got an amazing candidate and we had to postpone their starting for a week or 2 weeks, you know, I think at this point it's probably too early to say that it would rule somebody out completely. But at the same time, we do need to have some sort of schedule to this. So we would prefer to stick with that, but nothing's impossible.
Ross, how soon after the application process will the interviews take place? When me and Tracy get round to reading them, I suppose. So there is a schedule, so it will happen quite quickly after the deadline. Nikki's asked a good question. What ultimately made you choose candidates in the past? Right, if I tell you literally, everyone will just do the same. That's I'd say that communicating a love of television is what, you know, that's why we work in this industry. We love making shows, and if you sound like you like TV and you like to make TV, then that's the sort of person we want to work with. And also people that successful candidates worked out what we need and what we want, and they were able to sort of get that across in their applications and their interviews, and had the right sort of personalities as well. So, yeah. Is there a set date for the internship beginning? Tracy checking her notes.
Let me just check that. I feel like there's not a set date, but we are looking at beginning end of June. So it will run over the summer, July and August.
All right, got a bit more time, guys. Any more questions? Or we can go to the pre-prepared questions. Oh, here we go. What's your favorite TV show to watch? Well, there's two things there, isn't there? There's the shows you watch, and so I work in game shows, so and entertainment. So I love anything to do with Out on Deck. I love reality shows. I watch what my wife is watching. Drama at the moment, I'm watching The Dropout on Disney, which is brilliant. That's it, really. Tracy, how about you?
I love cookery programs. I work on cookery programs as well, but I enjoy watching them. And I like travel programs. I'm enjoying drama at the minute. Gosh, I have a fairly wide range of programs. I mean, I love Great British Bake Off, who doesn't? And I love Saturday Night Takeaway, who doesn't?
Interior Design Masters, watching that at the moment. It's very good.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff. As well as being in the office, will you ever be on set during the internship? Yes, if you can. So last year, when we had the internship scheme, we were making a studio big entertainment show for BBC. So we flew the interns over to Manchester for that shoot. We also flew them over to Luton for a shoot for this virtual reality game show that we're testing. So yeah, any opportunity to visit the set or location while you're an intern, it will happen. It's,
would it be possible to link to examples of our own work? Absolutely. If you want to put those on your application form, absolutely. Far away. We will love seeing examples of your work.
What's your favorite piece of work within Stellify? What's my favorite? I'm hesitating. I've got to say one of the shows that Tracy's made here.
Yeah, you better.
I like Beauty Queen and Single.
Yeah. I do too.
I think it's just a real fun world and a very sort of simple, watchable dating format with really good characters. So,
yeah, I also have to promote our latest cooking format, Farm to Feast, which we're just starting in production at the minute as well on series 2. And I very much enjoyed working on that.
and then the big one, I mean, we didn't develop it, but we make it, is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which is arguably the greatest quiz show of all time. So having that on our slate is quite an honor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Katie says, if you're uncertain about whether you want to work in production or as a crew, would it be okay to apply? Crew as in camera crew, do you think?
So if you're uncertain about whether you want to work in production, I would say absolutely. I mean, truthfully, your time in production is probably going to be spent doing more sort of research, officey type skills, rather than, well, unless you may already shoot, in which case we might be able to use somebody who can, as a sort of second camera, or to pick up shots here and there if it was needed. But certainly we wouldn't envisage giving someone the responsibility of shooting footage that we were completely dependent on, because that would feel very unfair. The whole purpose of for the interns is to get is to have a safe space, really, where they can learn and they can make mistakes. But absolutely, if you're somebody who isn't sure whether they want to go down a technical route or wants to be in production, then I think this is still a great experience and a great way to find out where you do want to be.
I think we can work out what show Daryl was a contributor on.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not going to say.
Let me just go. Somebody asked beforehand about whether it's an advantage having a media degree or not, and I'd say it's 50-50. So media degrees now are really useful in terms of the practical aspect of it. We're graduates. You're coming out with editing skills and shooting skills better than some of us. So that's great. But then at the same time, the people in my team, the people in the company, they've got history degrees, English degrees. A member of my team did a PhD in French musicals. So yeah, it can be an advantage. It's not a disadvantage, but at the same time, if you're doing a degree in information technology or archaeology, then you should equally apply.
Jack says, would you ever collaborate with other NI production companies? I mean, I think that the big thing with working in television within this industry is just never say never to anything. And the industry is changing all the time. We haven't collaborated with any other Northern Irish independent production companies to date, but that doesn't mean we never will, I would say. I think it's kind of part of to be successful in TV is that you need to keep an open mind. Yeah, never say never.
Joanna, what are the biggest challenges of working at a production company such as Stellify? I think everyone will have different answers to that. In development, what's hard is essentially a big part of it is sales. We have to sell stuff, we have to sell ideas, and that's out of your control. So you can work on an idea for weeks and it doesn't get pitched, or you might make a pilot and it doesn't go to series. So it can be a massive waste of time and energy, and it can be heartbreaking when this thing that you've worked on for weeks doesn't get picked up. So that's, I think, the hardest bit about development. And I think, well, that's the hardest. When people join development, that's the thing they say they find the hardest. They can't believe how hard you work for sometimes nothing getting away. But saying that, when you do get something away, when you do sell something, you see your idea on television, then it's absolutely amazing. So, so that's the hardest aspect from development.
Jack, can I just update you as well? I'm just being corrected here. We have done a co-pro with an NIND before. So that was before my time. So yes, as I said, never say never.
Keep an open mind.
Keep an open mind. Anything's possible. Joanna, what are the biggest challenges of working in a production company such as Stellify? I think the challenges aren't any different for us. I think the challenge for everyone working in TV production is often the budgets are shrinking, and so with it, schedules. So we never have enough time. Having said that, I suspect, you know, if we have more time, we would fill that too, and we would still be saying we never have enough time. So I think that is a challenge. I think it's you know, as I mentioned before, it's very much deadline driven. But I think the challenges generally in production are the same no matter where you're working. You know, people will encounter the same problems to overcome.
Tom, the real winner here is the post-it color coordination of the background of Jim's house. The post-its. Post-its are a vital tool in development, although the team are forcing me to go digital using something called Trello, which is very good. But yeah, I mean, that's what I do. All those post-it notes, the pink ones are different commissioners that we pitch to, and then the yellow ones are ideas that they're interested in that we're working on, and then the blue ones are new ideas that we haven't pitched yet. So that's the process. So that's a good point. Might as well say it. So at any one time, you'd be working on several ideas. I try and limit it to about 2 or 3, or else your head explodes. But you'll be like the team this morning. Someone's working on a makeover format. They're working on a quiz show. I'm looking down here to see what they're doing. They're working on a travelogue, documentary for BBC. So it's all, if you want to work in all different types of shows apart from scripted, then this is, yeah, the opportunities are there. Sam says, what skills could the chosen candidate gain from this internship? I would say that, well, experience is a skill. So you'll be learning a lot about how the industry works and what it's like to work in the industry. Skills wise, I think you'll learn, from my aspect, is how to generate ideas, what that process is, and also what's involved getting your ideas on TV. You know, I think that if someone got this internship after 3 months and we didn't keep them on, they'd have all the skills and knowledge they would need to go and pitch their own ideas to broadcasters themselves. So, and then they'd get all the relevant experience from Tracy as well, in terms of what to do on day one when you turn up for a production job.
I think as well you'll go away with improved time management skills after working on production, because it's all about being organized and getting the most out of your time. So I think that is a very important life skill, time management, that you will take away with you. And I think as well in production, you often just the other people that you're working with, as I kind of alluded to this earlier on, you're always getting ideas from how other people work. So you're always picking up different ways of doing things, which is really nice. So good people skills, actually. If you know, sometimes it forces you out. Production often forces you out of your comfort zone, actually, because you know needs must, and so you just have to get on and do something that you maybe wouldn't choose to be doing. So I think you'll go away from it after a period in production. You will be more organized than when you started. You will probably be more resilient than when you started, and have developed a slightly thicker skin, possibly. And a sense of humor, because you do have to laugh. Production, sometimes you can be in really ridiculous scenarios, and there's a perception that working in television can be quite glamorous, and it's really not. But I think it's, you know, if the vast majority of people that I work with and have ever worked with have got a really good sense of humor. So you learn to laugh at yourself as well. And I think that's an important skill.
Yeah. You make great friends in television. So, because you're all in the same boat. It could be lots of fun, not very hard at the same time. Right. What's the makeup of your production team, Tracy? What's the age range?
Ooh.
I'm just asking a question now.
Probably mid-20s would be researchers, junior kind of researchers, runners, early to mid-20s, through to early 50s, really.
I was going to give a tip, not a tip, but so the main union in television is BECTU, BECTU, and they've got a rate card for unscripted that tells you roughly what each role earns. So if you want to know how much money you'll get as you progress, that's quite interesting to look at that. I'd say it's quite inflated for London. It's not what you get in Northern Ireland. But to give you, there's no such thing as a career, but there is a ladder. And if you want to sort of think ahead of what you'll be doing in 5-10 years time, then that's quite an interesting place to start. Kevin says, I have used Google Jamboard, which is also a great post-it note too. Wow, I've got Trello, I've got Slack, and Google Docs at the moment. I feel like there's too much for me on the cloud. But thank you, I'll check out Jamboard. I'm like, I know what I'm talking about. Done that one. Kevin says, would adaptability and how you've used it in the past projects be good to mention in the application? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adapt to survive.
Katie says, more of a personal question, what inspired you to work in TV? Good one. So when I started, well, actually, I didn't want to work in TV. I wanted to be a journalist. And that came about from the program Press Gang. That's what made me want to do that. And I remember at a careers talk in my school saying I wanted to be a journalist, and they said, oh, that would be very difficult to do. Not many people do that. And I thought, well, someone's got to do it. And they said, yeah, but it'd be very difficult. And I said, well, maybe TV, naively. They said that would be even more difficult. And I thought, kind of like the idea of the challenge. So that's where it started for me. Press Gang, Julia Swahala. I wanted to be her.
I want to be Dexter Fletcher. For me, I, as a child, watched too much television. And I thought if I had a career in television, it would make my childhood not a waste of time. So, and originally I was training to work in IT, and I was leaving university. I was doing application forms, and a friend of mine had an application form for a TV production company, and it was miles more interesting than what I was about to do in IT. So I applied for that. I didn't get that job, but I got a taste of what I wanted to do. And then I got a job developing quiz shows for a company called 12 Yard, who created The Weakest Link. So, but I love television. I love my job. I think it's the best job in the world. So,
yeah.
very, very lucky.
It's a real privilege. I'm also intrinsically nosy, which is, I think, why I love production, because you get into so many different people's lives that you would never, our paths wouldn't cross ordinarily. And I think that is a real privilege, and I'll never tire of that. So yeah, I think if you love people and you just love being nosy, then this is 100% the industry for you.
Yeah, and if you just want to see, from my aspect, if you want to see your ideas out there, if you want to see your ideas become reality, that's what I always wanted to do. Then yeah, right. Joanna, I like this one. What do you wish you'd known when you were starting out in the television industry? I've got one.
Go on then.
Never give an opinion unless you're asked for it. That's quite a good. I've got in trouble a couple of times, but I should have just pulled my head in. So, another good one, which actually I learned pretty early, is again on a similar vein. If you criticize, make a suggestion.
Yeah.
Really good tip.
Yeah.
How about you, Tracy?
What do you know when you start out? I mean, I think the big thing is probably just having the confidence to realize that there is no such thing as a stupid question. And particularly when you're starting out, because you kind of feel like, I remember feeling like you need to have all the answers. I worked as a researcher, and you want to have all the answers, and sometimes you don't. And I remember the angst, like having to expose that lack of knowledge. And actually, I think as a producer now, I love when people say, I don't know the answer to that, or just upfront about the fact that they don't know what they're doing, or I just think never be afraid to ask the question.
Yeah, now's the time to ask those stupid questions as well. Like Tracy and I on this probably said some things that, like some terminology that you might not know,
Yeah.
Now's the time to ask what we were talking about,
Yeah.
And what we do, again, when someone says this might be a stupid question, it's never a stupid question.
Yeah.
And the same goes for what I do. If someone says this might be a stupid idea, it's never a stupid idea.
Yeah.
Some of the best ideas I've ever heard is when someone says, this is a really bad idea, but here we go.
Yeah. And also I think it's important to know as well that you learn as you go through that sometimes the best ideas don't get picked up and other people don't pick them up, and not to take it all so personally, because actually, there's lots of other things going on as to why somebody goes with an idea. And it's not just based on the idea's strength. So yeah, I think that
one thing to say, Tracy, I've been talking about ideas a lot. A lot of what we do as well is like access or people.
Yeah.
So if you think you're really good at finding like really interesting subjects for documentaries, if you've got like a journalistic aspect to a lot of journalists, ex-journalists work in development because they're good at finding stories. And that's what we do. So it's not all just sitting here thinking of ideas for quiz shows. It's if you've got an interest in people and talent and stories, then development's good for you as well.
Mm. Yep.
Kevin, what excites you about your day ahead at Stellify? I'm pitching to the BBC in half an hour, so I've got some good ideas. So I'm looking forward to that. Pitching to BBC Children's, some new ideas. I'm looking forward to that. And my lunch. Tracy, what have you got ahead?
Today, I'm going to meet with our judges from our cookery series and to talk about the second series. So I'm looking forward to that. But generally, what excites me about the day at Stellify is that you don't really know, there's always things that happen that you never seen coming. And that's good, it keeps you on your toes. So I think it's the what word am I looking for? Just the spontaneity of the industry excites me. And, you know, when you're starting off in a production, people have a certain idea, but it kind of twists and turns, and it never, you end up at a different place quite often than where you thought you were going. And I like that. I like the unpredictable nature of it. And you never know who you're going to find. I love when we're casting for programs, seeing cast come in, and you know, some of the people that we unearth, it's great. So yeah, they're the things that would excite me generally, and my lunch and home time.
Speaking of which, that's almost an hour. Should we wrap things up?
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Apply for the job, and then hopefully me and Tracy will be seeing you in a few weeks' time.
Thanks so much.
Bye everyone.
Bye.